you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
You are listening to Mindshock True Crime. This is the Maura Murray series. We are on part 40, The Art Gallery. Man, 40 episodes. That's a lot. This is how bizarre of a case this is. And this is Bruce McGuire.
And Sid Irwin.
And we are once again going to be exploiting Sid's Mensa IQ to try to make heads or tails of some of these things in this case. And one of the things that is not talked about much is the art gallery where Maura worked. So not only did she work at the security desk at Melville Hall, and by the way, these halls are all part of the Southwest residential area on the campus of UMass. They're all very close together. Maura actually lived in Kennedy Hall. Sarah Alfieri, where the dorm room party allegedly was on Saturday night, that was in Coolidge, which was right across from Kennedy, and right nearby was Melville, and not too far from there is the art gallery where she also worked. Keep in mind, she's also a nursing student, and she also had clinicals, and she was hitching rides with people to clinicals. She was not taking her Saturn. So, all things to keep in mind. In the previous episodes on the hit and run, we discussed the Patrick Vassie hit and run, but we are still located in UMass because we don't have 100% proof that she ever even made it to New Hampshire, and it is all up for debate. Not a lot of it. We can't nail down anything in this case. That's why this is part 40, because it seems like wherever you look, there's conflicting information. So once again, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you get updates when we upload new episodes. And also make sure your device allows those to go through. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. Like and follow our Facebook page. We will be posting exclusive content to Facebook only in the future. You could also check us out Twitter, Reddit, and Patreon, and patrons do get a priority in case or subject requests. All right, Sid Irwin, now that we have exhaustively looked at the Patrick Vassie hit and run and everything that entailed, where are you right now? Do you think the hit and run had something to do with Maura or Maura's vehicle, and that initiated the exodus or the attempted exodus from the UMass campus, which may or may not have been successful?
As I said before, I feel that whether by choice or not, she must have been taken either at the crash site or even beforehand, and that is just a red herring in itself, just because it's obviously there, and it's clear, and it's weird, and we're just supposed to focus on it.
Well, also, we have to keep in mind the Hadley car accident that happened late Saturday night or super early Sunday morning, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, everything that entails. So supposedly she lost her cell phone at Sarah Alfieri's dorm, and she didn't get it. Nobody knows exactly when she got it back. Yeah, so supposedly Maura left her cell phone at the dorm party where anybody could have taken it. So if this was a CI situation, if somebody wanted to do her harm, they could have discovered something on her cell phone. We don't really know. And we don't know exactly when she got it back, but supposedly she got it back while she was working at the art gallery with Sarah Alfieri on Sunday, the day before she went missing. This would have been Sunday, February 8th, 2004. And then Monday is when she went up, allegedly, she went up to New Hampshire. So if she got her phone back from Sarah at the art gallery while working there, then that could have been that Sunday afternoon. And also, Sarah said that Maura never even mentioned the car accident, the Hadley accident. What do you make of that, Sid Irwin?
Well, it's a bit surprising. I mean, they were friends, but they're not.
At minimum, acquaintances and co-workers. So yeah, I mean, even if they weren't, so allegedly this party was at Sarah Alfieri's dorm. I mean, from all accounts, it seems Kate Markopoulos was her closest friend at UMass. Sarah Alfieri may not have been as close a friend, but we're talking co-worker, someone who she sees all the time. So at bare minimum, an acquaintance, if not a friend. So yeah, I mean, it seems like most people, even if they weren't even if they didn't party outside of work, which they did, but even if they didn't, or at least that one time, allegedly, but even if they didn't, you'd probably tell a coworker if something like that happened, right? I don't know.
I've actually been in a situation where I have been in a car crash, and aside from that was only on my way to work at the time. Because of that, I did tell my coworkers that it did occur, but otherwise, not many knew. So there's a potential chance to gloss it over if, again, it's only an acquaintance. Maybe not feel a need to have a conversation unless she was truly frustrated by it.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly she was also a private person, so I suppose it wouldn't be the most unbelievable thing if she hadn't mentioned it. But, all right, so let's go dissect James Renner's post about this. Okay, so first of all, James Renner gets a lot of hate and heat for a lot of things, which is kind of bizarre because it seems like anytime third-party news outlets or independent sources verify what he says, all his haters completely ignore it. So when James Renner breaks information, a lot of these narrative steerers in this case that just randomly hate James Renner, they randomly hate John Smith. You know, it's weird. I've always said, like, the people that are often hated the most by the mainstream, they must be onto something, right?
That I can agree with.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be hated. If they must be diligent and possibly honest. I mean, a lot of people aren't honest, but in this case, from what I've seen, James Renner is honestly pursuing the truth, and he makes it clear when something is his opinion versus fact. And also, with maybe that's why I've never had an issue with the way he ever presents anything, because he seems very clear when he says when he's giving his opinion versus when he's just dissecting facts versus when he's just reporting what other people said. He's not saying it's true. He's saying this is what other people said. Now, whether he believes it or not and proceeds accordingly, that's another matter. And then another person, John Smith, the private investigator in this case, who also gets a lot of hate, again, he seems very logical, honest. He doesn't dismiss theories. These two people are hated on the most in this case, and I find that very telling as well. The narrative steerers really hate these two guys. So that should tell you something as well. But James Renner has done so much work in this case, and he seemed to have pursued all these avenues early on, which, again, the truth is not afraid of investigation. So an honest investigator would obviously pursue all these avenues. James Renner didn't know if the Patrice Bassey hit and run was connected or not. He seems to think it's not from what a lot of the posts that I've seen, but he was instrumental in getting a lot of those police reports and putting a lot of this info out there. So he posted something. This blog post is from Friday, April 19th, 2013. Maura worked security at Hampton Gallery with Sarah Alfieri. So keep in mind, so working registration or anything, that falls under security, which falls under UMass PD. So keep in mind, again, there was an unnamed UMass PD cadet at the Hadley accident. To this day, that name has never been revealed. And there is definitely some funny business going on between Amherst PD, UMass PD, and the entire Maura Murray case. So we shouldn't lose sight of that immediately because since we don't know what the truth is, we can't fallaciously say, oh, well, it's definitely not related to this. Oh, well, it's not it's so silly and illogical to pretend to know what's related and what's not related if you don't know the actual truth. So as far as I know, this case is still open and we don't know the truth. So Maura's position, Maura's jobs at the sign-in desks or security, however you want to call it, that might be directly related to why she went missing. So why would anyone not pursue that? It's kind of strange how certain narrative steerers online don't want anybody asking questions about that. Do you find that weird?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so here's his post. Today, I was finally able to confirm that the art gallery Maura reportedly worked at was the Hampton Gallery at UMass Amherst. I spoke with director Anna Leprade Sooth, who remembers Maura fondly. I hired her myself, she says. Maura was great. There didn't seem to be anything wrong. Leprade Sooth says she remembers Maura talking about her boyfriend in the military and that she was close friends with Sarah Alfieri, who worked there too. Maura would work about 10 hours a week, mostly during gallery shows. Leprade Sooth was also one of the people who received an email from Maura's account the day she disappeared. She said she would be away for a week due to a family emergency. Not a death in the family, but a quote family emergency. After Maura disappeared, Sarah transferred away from UMass. It would be great if we could have Sarah's version of events leading up to Maura's last day in Amherst. It seems that could be very important to solving the case. Sarah has never said why she will not talk about Maura's disappearance. So what do you make of that, Sid Irwin?
I find that to be very odd.
The first thing that jumped out at me is if there was something weird going on. Like, I'm not saying obviously I'm not saying there is. Like, let's take a different case where there was an issue at work and the supervisor either was involved if they were the bad guy, or they were the good guy but they were threatened into saying something. The first thing they say is everything was great. She was great. There was nothing wrong. That's the first thing they say. That's what just jumped out at me here. But obviously that's because in these other cases where there is a connection, that doesn't mean there is one here. I'm not saying there is. That's just it's weird how some people just always take the words of humans at face value. I mean, yes, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. The other thing that jumped out at me is I think Karen Mayotte and some of the other supervisors or people at her other job at Melville Hall, they said they didn't know anything about Maura. If she had a boyfriend, she was very private. But this individual says that Maura spoke about her boyfriend in the military. Like she really didn't seem to be that introspective or that to herself at this job versus the other job. I don't know. These are just things that jumped out at me. But you can feel free to give your thoughts, Sid.
Well, I can't lie. Certain people may act differently with around certain people. That's always something that does happen. I know people that have worked multiple jobs, one job just for the job itself. They may not like it, so they're less interactive with people. While at a different job, they may honestly enjoy. They're far more expressive. But this could be one of those scenarios, or for the simple fact that, like you said, there is a chance that maybe some funny business going on. Someone may have talked to them or influenced what they're saying now, potentially. So I agree that can't be ignored, especially since I find it interesting that someone has transferred.
Yeah,
Someone
that's the next thing I was going to say,
disappeared.
Sarah Alfieri. So keep in mind, people transfer all the time, but there are weird things that happen. Supposedly, Kate Markopoulos went missing for a week or two, and then she came back and she lost a lot of weight and she did really good in track. So, again, this is all circumstantial. I'm not saying any of this is true, but from the surface, it certainly looks like Kate and Sarah know something. Either they're the good guys, the bad guys, whatever. We don't know if they're the good guys or the bad guys. They seem to know more than they have told, and they did not go up to New Hampshire to look for Maura. Her high school friends did, just as a comparison.
All right.
So we also don't know exactly when Sarah transferred. Did she transfer immediately the following semester? We don't really know. But let's get to the emails. So I'm not sure if you remember this. Okay, so supposedly there were two separate emails from Maura's email address that both stated that there would be a week-long absence. So now let's keep in mind again, we have no 100% proof that she was the one that sent the emails. So again, let's not fall into these assumptions. If we're being scientific, logical, if someone harmed her at UMass and they wanted to make it look like she was leaving, that could be a way to do so. So again, I don't know why people are finding it hard to believe that someone would stage a murder as a suicide. I mean, it's done all the time. I mean, how is that shocking?
Yeah, it's very odd. Yeah. I highly no, maybe just some people just aren't used to said murders occurring or suicide. They just believe what they hear. People are accustomed to it.
Are you saying that a lot of these narrative steers are just new to true crime?
To a degree, I wouldn't say particularly the narrative steers are new to true crime, but rather just the people that care to believe it are the ones that are new to it. So I want to say.
And just to clarify, I'm not saying to believe or disbelieve. I'm just, once again, trust but verify, or as I say, distrust and verify. Because humans are humans. Okay, so the email specifies that she'd be gone for a week and to return on Monday. Okay, so the UMass police also went to her nursing class that Friday, which happened to be Friday the 13th. and and that's when they addressed the class about her disappearance. So also keep in mind the FBI were supposedly investigating early on at UMass as well. So a lot of strange things going on at UMass.
Indeed.
Also, supposedly the manager of the art gallery was questioned by the police, and one of the other coworkers said something about the art gallery manager being nervous. And here's the other thing. So again, a lot of different researchers online. I don't know the veracity of this information, so disclaimer. Supposedly this art gallery manager had a truck which might have been a red truck. So do you know all the craziness with the red truck?
It has been a while. I do vaguely remember.
Okay, so allegedly, so there were several sightings of different or possibly the same red truck in the area in Haverhill where the Saturn's final resting spot was. There was a red truck sighting by a stage shop store where someone said there was a driver looking strangely at them as if they were looking for Maura. Or as if they were looking for someone. So some people theorized they were looking for Maura. Then there was another incident where there was a 911 call about a red truck, and the driver was off in the woods. So some people theorized that the driver might have picked up Maura, and then Maura might have jumped out of the red truck when she realized that that person could have been a nefarious individual. Or various other scenarios. But what we do know is supposedly it was reported that police were stopping red trucks all night on the
Okay.
night she went missing, and that information has not been made public. That was brought forward by a private investigator that put that information forward afterwards, that they were stopping red trucks all night. They have not made any public statements about red trucks. So there have been a very suspicious amount of individuals with red trucks. Now, here's the thing about this: that coincidence theorists, they have a point here about red trucks because red trucks are popular. A red 4x4 truck, other than I think black and red are the two most popular colors for trucks, or at least they were in those years, I believe. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I agree with that. through my
I would
experience.
say, yeah, black, red, and white. I see a lot of those trucks all the time in various states that I've lived in. That those are some common colors. So
Blue too, I think, at the time.
blue, yeah, I don't remember seeing a lot of blue, but if you've seen a lot of blue, that's fine. But anyway, with red trucks, it's not like it was a hot pink truck or a rainbow colored truck. It wasn't something that, or even
Stood out.
purple. I guess purple truck would be rare, right? I haven't seen. Have you seen purple trucks?
No.
So if it was one of those colors, that would be a lot more strange. But a red truck, that really could be coincidental. So it doesn't really mean anything, but there was the sheer number of suspicious individuals who happened to have a red truck, and also there were people repainting their trucks who had red trucks. They repainted to white or black around the time of her disappearance, if we believe these stories from locals. Do you find that interesting?
That I do. There could be coincidence more than likely, but at the same time. Mhm.
So, but here's what's weird though. Allegedly, one of the girls from the art gallery said that girls that worked at the art gallery often went on drives with the manager. What does that mean? Isn't that kind of random to just be going on drives with a manager if you're a girl working security or just working at the art gallery?
Um, it could be a very odd scenario. Could be a natural thing for them. Perhaps, I mean, I just like to go drive with people, offer them maybe take them out to get something to eat. Who knows specifically? But that's just my thoughts. But I can't lie, I'm not one prone to, even if I like my manager, to usually go out with them to do things. But who knows where they're at? That could be something different, just a natural thing.
All right, so that's mind shocking enough, but we're gonna get even more mind shocking because we also have to think what happened on Sunday. Was the art gallery manager there? Also, is there a connection with the art scene. We have in the previous episode we discussed Anthony's Pier 4, Maura Murray's Saturn sighting. What if there was something illicit going on with the art gallery? Now, maybe I watched too many espionage and action movies, but art galleries sometimes are used to either smuggle or sell black market items, like either counterfeit paintings or things of that nature, or even drug smuggling in vases or whatever. I'm probably going way off the deep end with this, but if there was some kind of illicit goings on at the art gallery, could somebody have found out about that?
There's a chance that could have occurred.
Or we don't even have to go that crazy. If the art gallery manager was simply involved in drugs or something illegal, it might not have even had anything to do with the
Anything
gallery.
related?
What?
Say anything related to act.
Yeah, so that could also cause the art gallery manager to be nervous with police, and this might have nothing to do with Moore at all. A lot of people could be nervous in dealing with police if they're involved in something illegal, right? So that's not necessarily indicative of any kind of guilt towards Moore or anything like that. Or he could just be a nervous, fidgety individual in general, and he could be a completely good guy. That's also a possibility.
Indeed, all valid points, cases in point.
Okay, so some of these astute online researchers are also, someone found that the bank that the credit card fraud was reported to, the alleged fraud that Maura either copped to, was intimidated into admitting, even though she might have been innocent, we don't know, or she took the blame for to cover for somebody else. I mean, there's many different scenarios that we don't know. We don't know which one's the correct one. Supposedly, that bank made a $12,000 contribution to the gallery, to the art gallery, several years afterwards. Is this nothing, or is there something more going on inside the whole UMass good old boys club?
It's definitely potentially something to look at. So whether or not again could be related or not is up in the air in my opinion, but still worth looking at.
Yeah, everything's pretty much up in the air. That's why this case is so bizarre. But the art gallery information is it's kind of bizarre because, but on the other hand, if the police really did talk to the manager, that means they were doing a real investigation into the disappearance of Maura Murray, and it seemed like there was interest in what happened at UMass. And then what we mentioned on the previous podcast, of course, with the Corolla crash, is that supposedly the UMass Police Department was very interested in the Corolla crash. I mean, there were police reports sent. If you haven't checked out our previous podcast, listen to that. We go over all that. We have someone making an anonymous statement related to the Patrick Vassy hit and run, setting a lot of things in motion on Monday. And then, of course, that Monday morning was when UMass made the announcement that Patrick Vassy was in a coma. So his survival was up in the air as well at that point. So here's another post on our Reddit on Mindshock that's kind of interesting. One idea here. Someone used the Saturn while she was working Thursday night, got drunk and hit Vassy and left the scene. Told Maura about it. Now here's the other thing. When they told Maura about it, if the phone call that allegedly disturbed her to have an episode, emotional breakdown, what have you, on Thursday night, shortly after midnight, shortly after midnight is when Patrick Vassy was hit, but supposedly, looking at information closer to the time that it happened, if you haven't checked out our Silent UMass episodes 1, 2, 3, check those out. There was a security desk line, and earlier on it was reported that a call came in at around 12:40 a.m. that was closer to 1 a.m. So that's when the breakdown would have occurred, after 1 a.m. or so. Karen Mayotte has given conflicting information there, and there's also a police report with her information has never been released. That would probably have the accurate information on it. So just quick aside on that, but if someone called her at the desk line and told her about this, is that what could have happened? Anyway, back to the Reddit post. Told Maura about it. It may have been the UMass Police Department cadet who was with her later that weekend, and it may have been driving drunk in her dad's car. This is how Maura got away easily. So this Reddit poster is theorizing that if Maura wasn't driving and the cadet was, Amherst PD might have let him off the hook, right? Especially if they knew that cadet personally.
Potentially, that could definitely happen if, like you said, if they personally knew him.
This is how Maura got away easily. By Monday, the accident was in the school paper. If Maura was pressed about the car, she would be arrested for it. The person had to stop her from coming out with the truth if asked. This person had to have a contact in New Hampshire to help get rid of the car and staged a runaway. All right, so here's where it doesn't make sense because all these connections to Haverhill. All right, so let's take a step back though. So this anonymous individual that went to the Amherst Police Department. So Amherst Police Department is on Main Street, and this is only about a mile from the Southwest residential area and the art gallery, and very, very close to where Patrice Vassy was hit. I mean, just a couple blocks, just right there. Now, the other thing that I found interesting in looking at this map, have you ever been to UMass? I haven't been there.
Personally, no.
But not personally, you have been to UMass? Do you astral project, Sid?
I could tell you that's secret, but it wouldn't be a secret.
And well, here's the other thing that we haven't really discussed extensively. There are bus stops all over the place. So, I mean, there's a bus stop a couple dozen feet from the police station, from the Amherst police station, or 100 feet, 200 feet from the police station. Maura could have made a statement, hopped on a bus, and been gone, and then we don't know what's going on after that. She could have went to Boston. She could have went anywhere. So, did harm come to her at UMass? Maybe, maybe not. We really don't know. If she had gotten away and was harmed elsewhere. I mean, in the next episode, we'll be going over new developments with Billy Roush and a lot of other strange happenings. But yeah, we really don't know the situation here. The other thing we didn't really talk about is security cameras. So there are security cameras at UMass, and there were at that time. So obviously these have never been released, but it's interesting as to what UMass PD knows and what footage they have, whether or not they see Maura or the Saturn. All of these questions can be answered. And then, of course, the liquor store footage, which has never been released. But going back to the phone call, if she was disturbed at her desk by a phone call, could that phone call was supposedly came from campus? Could that phone call have been coming from the art gallery also? Or a lobby area near the art gallery? Is the art gallery connected? I mean, the art gallery is one of the most the most overlooked aspects of this case. Well, what do you think about all this so far, and what role the art gallery or people involved with the art gallery could possibly play in this case?
From what I've heard so far, there is definitely potentially a chance that our art gallery could be involved, if not perhaps even where Moira might have been honestly taken, and people could just thought they may have seen her or have like information about her in between then and said crash in New Hampshire, and potentially also they said the manager themselves, and also with I'm sorry, can you say the girl's name again? Sarah, was it?
Sarah Alfieri was the co-worker at the art gallery, yes.
Yes. If they were investigated properly, or like I said, the manager's nervousness and Sarah Alfieri's later transference, without giving any sort of comment on Maura's disappearance in any regard, which is strange to me. It could mean that there may have been something that could have occurred to her that, at least if not occurred to her there, or they may know something that would have led to her being influenced and disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I just did a recent super quick podcast on smoking guns and the missing pieces in solving cold cases. What if there's something we're missing here? What if Maura was a lot closer with Sarah and possibly this art gallery manager than we know? What if he was a really good guy and she really trusted him? If he does have a red truck, if something went down with people, maybe Sarah and this art gallery manager were the only people she could trust. Maybe they helped her. If they helped her to get away, or they were or there was some kind of tandem driver, as James Renner has theorized, the art gallery manager, if he's a good guy and he helped her get away, if he does have a red truck, they picked her, maybe they both went up there. There was a sighting at Butson's, which there was supposedly a sighting of Maura Murray at Butson's in Woodsville, not too far from the accident scene. If that sighting was legitimate, we might do another podcast just on that sighting because it's often overlooked as well. Suppose some people think that was Maura with Sarah and Kate Markopoulos, but nothing is so simple. This case would already be solved. What if Kate or Sarah, if one of them are the good guys, one of them is the bad guy? In previous podcasts, I've speculated either they're both the good guys or they're both the bad guys. What if Kate or Sarah, one of them is the good guy and her real friend, one of them is not and is setting her up or is possibly connected to either a CI or some kind of nefarious entity at UMass that wishes Maura harm? And so they find out about it. If Sarah and this other art gallery manager, if they're the good guys, why wouldn't Sarah transfer out of UMass if she helped Maura and she knows there's bad people there at UMass that know about her? Wouldn't she transfer? Is that really a sign of guilt, or could that be a sign of just simple fear?
Well, for me, I'm not entirely sure, but all I can say it might be a sign that she may potentially have knowledge.
Yes, yes. It seems like he definitely knows more. Same thing with Billy Roush. He could be the good guy. He could be trying to save Maura. He got emergency leave. If he's the good guy, he's going up to New Hampshire to save Maura. But he definitely knows more than what he's saying. So knowing more than what you're saying doesn't mean you're the bad guy. So I think a lot of people fall into that black and white fallacy as well. So if Sarah Alfieri and this art gallery manager guy, if they're the good guys and they were either helping Maura escape or they tried to, if they tried and failed, and there are some nefarious entities that are keeping them from speaking up and threaten them, I mean, that could make sense too, right? That's why they didn't say anything about it.
That's a fair assessment.
So, and if one of them had a connection to Haverhill, whatever way they did, if they had some kind of a connection there for whatever reason, we're trying to get her up there or get her Saturn, if they were trying to get rid of the Saturn, like let's say, okay, some people early on have theorized that if Maura was the one who hit Patrick Vassy, her and her dad might have been trying to get rid of the Saturn. But let's flip this a different way. If Maura was left with the Saturn after the hit and run and she didn't do it, would she try to get rid of it if the person who was responsible for the Patrick Vassy hit and run, if they had connections in law enforcement and they led Maura to believe that nobody would believe her if she tried to pin it on the UMass cadet if they're the bad guy? So if they scared her into thinking she couldn't go to the police, what would she do? It's an important question because now we have this whole web that is spun from that. So if she was trying to get rid of the Saturn, or this art gallery manager who was maybe helping her, if they were trying to get rid of the Saturn because they knew nobody would believe them, could that account for it? And if this guy's the good guy and he's getting interviewed by police and he knows they can't be trusted for whatever reason, or like let's say this rogue police officer, he's the son of some super important, powerful person at UMass or in government. I mean, it's kind of hard. We see these in certain cases where these people are protected, even if they're guilty. So for all this to work, it only has the only variable that needs to accounted for is if this individual has scared Maura or the art gallery manager into believing that they can't trust the police. That's all that had to be done. That's it. And then this could have played out the way that it played out. But let's circle back to the emails. So she sent out 2 emails stating there would be a week absence for a family emergency, and then there's conflicting information on whether this was summarized as a death in the family by other people and reported accordingly, because different articles reported it different ways. Okay, so now what we haven't really dissected is, did she send the emails from her computer in her dorm room, or did she do it from somewhere else on campus? Or did someone else do it? Because if it wasn't Maura, obviously this is a good way to stage this whole scenario. Because if this was someone doing harm to Maura, I mean, there's another scenario we didn't consider. If Maura ran away to start a new life, as James Renner has theorized, if she did it successfully, the cover-up plan might have been to make it look like she was going up to commit suicide or something like that. So again, it might not be someone's trying to harm her and covering it up as a suicide, right? It could be someone doing it on her behalf, or even her doing it herself if she's running away to start a new life. I mean, again, all these things are all just theoretical. I'm not saying she would do it, because it does seem unlikely that she would leave behind her ailing mother and her younger brother, and it's very the only way I could see her doing that is if someone had led her to believe that those people would be harmed unless she did this. Because, yes, Maura was definitely from all accounts, she was a very caring person, and she wouldn't have her family worry like this unless she was threatened and convinced that her family would be harmed unless she did this. In that case, I could see her doing that. It seems possible that someone who really cares about their family would do whatever it takes, including causing them emotional turmoil if they believe the alternative is the family being harmed. So, yes, so somebody could have made it look like this was all a suicide, even if it wasn't. And I guess that could be Maura herself, possibly, if she was scared or threatened. So one email was sent to her nursing instructor. The other was sent to the art gallery. So apparently there was not an email to the UMass Police Department. So this would have been her campus security job separate from the art gallery. And this is the job where she's at Melville Hall and checking people in and out. So what some have theorized online as well is that this could all be, if this was all a diversion, as you've speculated yourself, everything could have been to divert away from what was really going on. How many mistakes are there? If this person who would be sending these emails, would they overlook an email? Should there have been an email to the UMass Police Department? Should there have been an additional email? What do you think, Sid?
That's intriguing. When you put it that way. I mean, email to the police department definitely would have maybe sent them in spiraling in a different direction, which would have been, again, if a diversion was planned, that would have been good to have done.
Okay, so this is directly from the UMass Police Department. The UMass Police Department Campus Security Shift Coverage Policy. How do I get a shift covered? Each area has an email list of all the monitor employees in a given area. Use your area's mailing list to email your coworkers. The title of your email should be the day you would like off, and the body of the email should contain a brief request for that day off. Offering to swap shifts increases your chances of someone covering for you. If someone emails you back offering to take your shift, you must email them back confirmation. When people are looking to pick up shifts, sometimes they will make an offer to multiple people and take the shift of the first person to email back confirmation. You cannot assume from the initial offer that you're all set. Make sure your emails are clear, because should there be a misunderstanding and you end up appealing a warning with the warning council, emails are important documentation. Once you both reach an understanding, you both need to call the shift swap in. How do I notify the department of a shift swap? Complete the online shift swap form. This is recommended, or you may notify us by phone before 6 p.m. Leave a message, in parentheses, speak clearly, end parentheses, that contains your name spelled out slowly so the dispatcher can understand you, who you are switching with, spell their name out slowly, what buildings the switch will affect, the dates in which the switch is taking place. If absolutely necessary, you can make a last-minute shift swap before 8 p.m. by calling the dispatcher business line. What do I do if I cannot get a shift covered? If you cannot get a shift covered, make every effort to attend your shift yourself. However, we understand that sometimes things come up. If you cannot get someone to cover your shift and you will not be attending your shift, you must call out. Not only is it responsible, but it is considerate to your coworkers to call out. Call this number before 8 p.m. on the day you will be unable to attend your shift. Leave a message stating your name, spelled out slowly, where you were scheduled to work that evening. You are not required to include the reason why you were unable to work, but sometimes providing an explanation can help you if you plan to appeal the warning with the warning council. It is very important to call out your shifts when you know you cannot attend. All right. So we have some major implications here. So this seems like, so was it Maura making it look like she was going away for suicide or whatever? Seems unlikely because she would have known she needed to inform UMass Police Department that she would not be at her shift if she was really planning to be away for a full week. If it was someone else staging this whole thing, they might not have known about the procedure. So what does that say? So it would be someone who didn't work this exact job because otherwise they would have known. Right? What do you think?
I can agree with that. And if she, but if they didn't know, let's say she was cooperating with this person, then she would have at least informed them that that would have been an important thing to have done.
Unless she did do this or someone else did this on her behalf and it just hasn't been reported for whatever reason, which is also very curious why they wouldn't report this because someone had to have covered her shift. So who covered her shift? And how was this done? Did Maura herself set this up? Was it all set up by email? Or is there a phone call where she did leave a message stating that there was a family emergency if it was really her? What I find curious about this whole thing is that nobody seems to have seen her or talked to her directly on that Monday. I mean, that's kind of that's highly suspect. Again, if we had access to all the security camera footage in the area, we would know if she was even on campus and if she left campus, if the Saturn was on campus. We don't even know if the Saturn was on campus or how long it would not have been on campus if it wasn't on campus. So it seems like anybody doing a real investigation, for example, the FBI, they would have all this information. We don't, but they would. And that would answer all these questions. And is this the most bizarre missing persons case or what, Sid?
Indeed, it is definitely strange.
Yeah, so if it's someone like Kate Markopoulos, maybe someone who doesn't know these shift processes and how to get these shifts covered, they seem to have forgotten about an email then, don't they? Because it's very they take all these coverings of shifts very seriously. So it seems like if Maura was herself sending these emails and she remembered to send the email to the art gallery and to her nursing instructor, so she has three the three most important things as a student at UMass. What are they? So probably the nursing program doing well, and then her two jobs, the art gallery and the UMass PD job at the registration desk. So where's the third email?
That is very interesting. And as you said, with the shift coverages, that didn't just apply for those working security guards, just in general.
Well, I don't know if Maura was so she worked the desk, so people had to sign in. Is that under the category of security guards? It might be.
It could just for let's say if it's just a overall policy across the board, or even at most other regular jobs, you do have to call to let people know whether or not you'll make your shift or to perform schedule changes. I mean, even if it's just registration, I still would figure inside of the police department setup that would be an important job to make sure that way information and any reports that need to be made are addressed and allowed to continue to be processed as quickly as possible.
Okay, so another thing we mentioned before that we hasn't been mentioned enough probably is Maura Murray's alarm clock. Now you probably don't know this detail. We only went over it once or twice on Mindshock. So, okay. Apparently on Tuesday morning, so Monday Maura goes missing. On Tuesday morning, her alarm clock went off and it was so loud that the resident's advisor had to get access to her dorm to turn it off. Now, people that lived in the dorm actually have reported that this actually happened. And also, they said that particular alarm clock had to be set manually. It wasn't automatic. So it wasn't something that just goes off this was 2004. So, and if it was an older clock, whatever. So here's the thing. So if she remembered to send the email to the art gallery and to the head nursing instructor, okay? But she forgot to send it to the UMass PD to get her shift covered. She forgot to inform them, if she did forget, unless this info has been covered up or not released. But here's the other thing. she manually set her alarm to go off the next morning, or someone else did.
Potentially, as I'm hearing it, those two particular details could be signs to let people know that she's trying to get someone's attention, or that something is odd and strange and off. Maybe even a sign for help.
Yes, interesting points. Also, the other thing that is talked about a lot is the rag in the tailpipe. Do you recall this information, Sid?
I do remember a rag in the tailpipe, but I do not remember the reasons for.
So basically, when Maura Murray's Saturn was found in Haverhill, there was a rag in the tailpipe, and the official story goes that the narrative steerers say that Maura put that rag in there to stop the car from smoking. Now, her father, Fred Murray, has said that he told her to do that so the car wouldn't smoke that much and attract attention for police. Now, here's the thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The narrative steerers maintain that it was Maura and Maura alone who could have put the rag in the tailpipe. But here's the thing. Anyone who Maura told about that would have known. Or if Maura, for example, is talking on the phone with her father, anybody overhearing the conversation could have known about it. And then if they overheard it, and they could have told any number of people about that detail. So even if the information came from Maura or Maura's father, that doesn't mean that another person couldn't have done that. And also, there's two other scenarios. One, just by happenstance, I'm going to take a coincidence theory side here. What are the chances that someone who didn't know that her father told her about it simply did that on their own? Because where did Fred Murray hear about that? Is he the only person in the world who thought of that idea to keep the car from smoking? So is it outside of the realm of possibility that someone else happened to have the same idea without knowing that Fred or Maura knew about it? I agree that that seems slightly more unlikely. However, if Maura put that rag in the tailpipe herself, some people believe that that was a sign that something that happened to her had something to do with the police. Because Fred had said to keep the police from seeing you or whatever. So if she left that as a signal that the police did get her or something like that, what do you think about all that, Sid?
I mean, that is a very good potential chance. I mean, I'm gonna say, for the sake that someone overhearing it, there's definitely a chance for that. I'm not sure if Montgomery that far back if YouTube or anything like that was a thing to be that popular for people to look it up and then find out that information to be vastly known. But aside from that, like I said, or even then, it could be someone that knew Moira and she may have told about that and could have done it, or again, if she was cooperating with the person, she may have done it herself, or again, she could have done it as a sign for help. Though I must admit, if depending on when the rag was placed, if it could have been placed before or after the car was being driven, or even still like, but this is just in, sorry, but this is just in case if she did was being taken forcefully. I could see her potentially leaving the rag out as more of a sign to draw attention to the car.
Yes. Yes, all very possible. All right, let's circle back to the alarm. If someone, okay, let's say someone didn't do that great of a job or their staging process was incomplete, was the alarm a way to get access to her room later? Because if they didn't have sole access on the Monday, if Maura was either there with them and watching them, if it's a friend of Maura's, Maura told Karen she had a roommate, so she did not have an official roommate. But what we don't talk about is what if she was letting someone stay in her dorm room? What if this was someone who worked at the pizza place at Domino's that she kept calling after hours, unexplained phone calls, including the night of the breakdown, the emotional breakdown. So it's yeah, if she was letting someone stay there and they were pretending to be a friend when they weren't, their staging opportunities could be limited if Maura was there with them. So if they needed access to her room after the fact, if they set the alarm and they knew they needed to rush something there later on Tuesday, for example, some boxes were allegedly packed up to make it look like Maura was leaving or not coming back. But conversely, she could have not finished unpacking from winter break because this is the beginning of February. There's a pretty long break. Winter break goes deep into January in college. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there. So if they're setting up her dorm room to make it look like she's leaving, there was even an email printed out referencing Billy cheating on Maura. And he actually cheated on her with one of her older sister's friends at West Point. What do you make of that, Sid Irwin?
Odd. But could be conveniently placed. Again, another piece to inspire the desire to leave.
Or make it look like, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all quite strange. It's all very, very strange. So are we dealing with people who are very smart, and this is all by design, or we're dealing with people who overlooked things? For example, the third email. For example, the alarm clock. So they forgot, like, for example, if Maura had set the alarm upon waking on Monday, because she was planning on being at UMass the next day. So if she didn't send the emails, if she wasn't planning on going anywhere, she set the alarm, but whoever staged everything, they didn't know that she set the alarm. and then they overlooked the email they needed to send or the notification to UMass PD for her security job. Does that explain it? So are we dealing with people who overlooked things, or are we dealing with very, very smart people who did everything by design?
I would wonder. But I must admit, to leave if they were staging the area, even leaving a piece like what I find interesting is a piece of the email or letter involving Moira's boyfriend having an affair. That I would find interesting. I would more likely assume that in those scenarios, as opposed to just being upset and leaving, that she probably would confront her boyfriend about said information, unless she already had at some other point where they may have record of them fighting in some point, in some way, some manner.
Oh, here's another idea. What if another party, let's say if Sarah Alfieri is the good guy and she was helping Maura try to get away, something went wrong. If another party here, another person, they wanted everybody to know that Maura was missing, but they couldn't do that themselves, could they have set her alarm to kind of alert everyone to the fact that Maura was not on campus and missing, to try to get everybody to try to find her as soon as possible because they were afraid to come forward themselves?
There is a chance for that, I could see. After all, I mean, her alarm clock is a pretty key and important factor, well, not factor, but piece of evidence, I could say, that I do find interesting, just for the simple fact that, I mean, if you set your alarm clock regularly, I mean, I highly doubt you would set it to be that blaring to wake up like everybody around you.
That's actually something I didn't even consider. Was her volume normally set on max, which if someone did it on purpose and they set it on max, if it wasn't normally set on max, because if she normally woke up within seconds and just turned it off, I guess that's not an issue. Because I mean, how loud are normal alarm clocks at a college campus? They're probably pretty loud. There's probably a lot of alarms going off, but then they get turned off, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the college scene at UMass in 2004, but I would assume that from my recollection of college days, there were quite a few different people with different alarms of different volumes, and it was all quite normal. And every now and then an alarm would go on for a very long time. But yeah, it is kind of we don't. There's missing information there as well. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Looking at it from the perspective, like, let's say theoretically that this was all a stage job. It seems like anybody who knew Maura would know that she liked going up to the White Mountains. So she had a relationship with an assistant track coach the previous spring, Hussein Baghdadi, an Iranian, coincidentally. So that would be similar to all the guys that own these businesses involved with these salvage yards and such, and the landlords. Do you remember we went over that? Wait,
I do.
were you aware of Hussein Baghdadi's involvement with Maura Murray, or no? Or this is just another layer of the coincidence stack for you?
This one is a new one for me.
Okay, so yeah, and he actually cooperated with both police and James Renner. He got back to James Renner a number of times before disappearing off the face of the earth. He before going into crazy conspiracy theories, Alden Olson style, where he had something to do with biochemistry, and then he worked for the government in some capacity, and he had something to do with China. But anyway, before, like, we're not going down that rabbit hole. But anyway, Hussein Baghdadi was an assistant track coach, and he had a relationship with Maura Murray, and he had said after the fact that he actually did fly fishing in the White Mountains as well. But anyhow, these people, anybody that Maura knew well, like Hussein Baghdadi, Kate Markopoulos, Sarah Alfieri, and anybody they might have told, they would all be privy to the fact that Maura had done a lot of hiking in the White Mountains with her family, and she was familiar with the area, and that was an area that she liked. So it seems like there's really a lot of degrees of separation here, and all of these people would have known that if they were going to stage some kind of Maura leaving campus, they would stage it in the White Mountains. It's not like it's impossible to find out that Maura liked to hike or Maura liked to go up to the White Mountains to camp with her family. So it seems like this information could be found out. So somebody doing this stage job, is it really out of the realm of possibility that they would know that she would go to the White Mountains if she were wanted to get away, to clear her head or whatnot? What do you think about that?
I mean, that information alone wasn't like just that particular point. Yeah, I could definitely see that being information easily found out. And just from hell, I mean, someone could even have asked her herself directly. Maybe she, at the time she may not known this person. Might have maybe later involved in helping in her disappearance. But I'm just saying, it's definitely possible to learn information about her easily enough.
Yeah, the other thing we have to constantly go back to, if the original plan was to harm Maura or something on the night of the party on Saturday night, because keep in mind she did not go back to her dorm. She went to her father's hotel with around an hour of time missing, where she could have theoretically gone somewhere else. But if the plan was to do something that Saturday night, that plan got foiled because she went to her father's hotel. Then she went to the art gallery job. Now, what happened Sunday night? It does seem, if something happened to Maura, did it happen Sunday night? Because she spoke to her father around 11 p.m. on Sunday night. So she was either, now we don't know if she was in her dorm at the time, though. She could have been somewhere else if she was staying with someone else that she trusted. We really don't know what happened, but then Monday she's gone. So it seems like something theoretically could have happened on Sunday, and it could have possibly been a backup plan, because the original plan to get rid of her, if that's what the plan was, that could have been going down Saturday night, and that all got foiled because of something. Either Maura got spooked at the party, or something happened that she wanted to go to her dad's hotel.
Huh. It's interesting. It's a potential obviously that could have happened. So I wonder if a plan may have even been foiled, if not going to her father's may have been a part of said plan. At least in the sense that for her, perhaps even if she's leaving on her own, maybe a last chance to see her father, her family before leaving and disappearing. Those are my thoughts.
Yes, it's all very suspect. So once again, we hope you enjoyed another edition of Mindshock True Crime in the Maura Murray series. More questions than answers, like usual, which is why this has been episode 40. If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. You could also check us out on Reddit, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure you like and follow our Facebook, because we will be posting some exclusive updates on there shortly that will not be posted anywhere else. Any questions, comments, thoughts, theories, rebuttals, leave them in the comments section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
Consider.
We'll catch you guys next time.